I'm here with Jamila Baucom, VP of Advancement at Children's Village, which is one of the activities that we at St. James the Less have been supporting for quite a few years. And Jamila, could you just give us a brief look at what it is that Children's Village does?
Sure. Thank you so much for the
You're
opportunity.
welcome.
As many of you know, the mission of the Children's Village is to work in partnership with families to help society's most vulnerable children so that they become educationally proficient, economically productive, and socially responsible members of their communities. So at the Children's Village, we serve over 17,000 children and families each year in the greater New York metro area through 25 different programs.
Wow.
We really aim to build strong communities by keeping families together and giving each child the unconditional love and belonging of family that they deserve. So we do this by providing short-term residential care and support to youth when that's needed. So for example, on our Dobbs Ferry campus here in Westchester,
Yep.
the average age of our youth, is about 16 and a half. In providing aftercare and community-based support services for adoptive and foster families, working with youth when they return to family or leave care, and providing support to youth in New York City and New York City public schools as well.
Wow. I have of course been to the Dobbs Ferry campus, but I had no idea what a comprehensive set of services you folks are offering. What about the pandemic? Did that have an impact on you? Greater need, greater demand?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, like many, this past year has been very difficult. And in a lot of ways, we've had to adapt some of our programming and services, but in fact, it's actually allowed us to really deepen our already strong commitment to youth and families. So in addition to our normal programming, our staff have been out on the front lines, checking in on family, making sure that they have the resources that they need, including food, medication, the educational resources for youth who may be in their care or are part of their families. Creating and expanding the recreation opportunities, especially for youth in our residential settings. Many of our families experience a lot of the challenges we saw exacerbated by the pandemic. So things like housing insecurity, food insecurity, access to healthcare, the digital divide, and making sure that youth have the educational tools that they need to learn and keep on par with their peers. So we really tried to step in where we could to provide these ongoing supports and recognize that these are struggles that a lot of our families have on an ongoing basis, and making sure that they don't fall further behind because of the pandemic.
So in addition to all the normal comprehensive services, you stepped it up during this crazy year of ours.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in a lot, very often we were sometimes providing PPE that a family might need. We created a cash assistance program for the first time because we were hearing very clearly from our staff and from the families that they worked with that I need some money to help buy groceries. I'm not getting paid because I had a job in a gig economy, or I was at a restaurant that closed, and I, want to make sure I can have some money for rental assistance or to pay for my medication this month. So there were these really sort of tangible needs that our families had that we recognized. We really just sort of needed to give them in some ways what they were asking for. Food was certainly the biggest thing that we were hearing from our families and from our youth.
Yes, that makes sense, because St. James the Less has been involved with a couple of food pantries, for instance, and the need at those food pantries doubled last year. So it has been incredible for everybody. Well, let's assume that things are about to get back to normal, and the good times are going to roll. What has Children's Village got planned for the future?
I think we want to sort of continue on the lessons learned over the past year. One of the things that we have continued to focus on is, making sure that we have well-rounded, comprehensive services for youth and families, so both residential when needed, but really, meeting young people and families where they are in the community and supporting and building communities. So our programming really never stopped in the pandemic, and that's going to continue. We certainly hope to return in terms of our, fundraising partnerships and relationships and being a little bit more external. We're excited to be allowing volunteers back on campus, if I can dive back into that, in small group settings, mainly right now for beautification projects and one-on-one volunteers, sort of at the discretion of each cottage for our campus in Dobbs Ferry. We've heard from some of our community programs that they too are going to start allowing volunteers back into their programming as well. So we are looking forward to really beginning to engage again with our community and with our supporters.
Okay, well, that all sounds great. And hopefully we're going to be raising a lot of money so that we can help you do that. Thank you, Jamila Baucom, for talking to us for a few minutes.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone.